This is the second part of the practice for the speaking engagement. I know a lot of you have been emailing me, requesting me that I finish this up, kind of left you hanging there. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to kind of take off where I left off and kind of talk a little bit. I think when we closed last time, I was talking about I just gotten to the psych ward at the hospital, and they put me, in the day room there about 8 o'clock at night. So that's where I'm going to take up, where we left off. And I appreciate everybody doing this. And again, out of respect for everybody, it is a possibility that I talk about some things that trigger things that for people that have mental health issues. So please be cognizant of that, and you need to step, if people step out or whatever, that's totally understandable. So kind of take up where we left off last time. I had just found out that I had tried to take my own life, ended up in the hospital, in a medical hospital, and was out for a couple days, unconscious, on a breathing machine and all that. And when I woke up and then, was able to move around, they moved me to the psychiatric ward of the state hospital. And so they kind of tricked me to get in there. I was dead set on getting out of the hospital that night. And they said, "Oh, no, we got to take you to this other hospital." And I said, "For what?" I said, "They're just going to check you out real quick. You'll be in there 30 minutes, that's it." So I said, "All right." So my buddy, Big E, he comes there with me to, he's going to come pick me up, that night, and he ended up not being able to because they didn't let me out, I was in there being assessed and evaluated and all that. So they take me in to check me in. Of course, I'm upset again, trying to figure this whole thing out. And at this point, I'm probably more perturbed than anything. I don't know that I have this huge disease yet. I don't know why in the heck I tried to kill myself because I don't remember. I do know my wife was gone, and so they get me all checked in, and they were real nice. I'm not going to cut them down. They take me back to the main unit, and where I was at, there's 2 units, and I'm not going to say the unit I was in, just out of respect for everybody else that was there. But so they put me in there, and it's in the day room. It's at 7:38 at night. So if you've ever been in jail or prison or psych hospital or whatever, what the day room is. It's when you're not your cell or your room or whatever it is, your squad bay. I don't know, but they take you. Everybody goes down there, and there's a TV. There's activities, you can do like color and all that. But we in the psychiatric ward, you don't get pens and pencils and all. You get these great big giant crayons like they give to kindergartners. That you can't hurt yourself or hurt each other with. That's what you get. And I don't know all this is going on. I've never been in one of these before. I did see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's about exactly what it was. I go in there and I sit down, and oh my gosh, man! And again, I'm not cutting none of these people down at all. I mean, I was, just crazy or crazier than that. I mean, I was told I was one of the worst, cases they've seen in 10 years or something. So, so I go in there and I sit down. I'm upset, and it's just like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, man. The one girl's coming up to me saying, she got problems with earwigs and all this. She ain't gonna be able to hear stuff. And, people talking to the walls and people singing at, talking to people that ain't there. And I'm just like, well, being the new person that comes in there, everybody's gonna look at you and like, well, what's this guy? Wonder if he's really crazy or what, So I sit there a couple minutes. Don't take long. This girl comes up to me and she starts talking to me. Sweet girl. Another couple, another dude. then a dude comes over that I think he liked the first girl or something, and he's gonna get an attitude with me. So almost told him real politely, dude, you don't want to fuck with me right now. But you're about to run into something you don't understand. You don't even and so he did. I don't think he saw that it wasn't he was out of his league there. So being that I got in there later, stuff rolls pretty quick from 8 o'clock, probably 7 on in the psychiatric hospital, because when you get back from the last activity, you're going to have a snack time around 7:30, and they want to give you something because you're going to be taking meds soon. I think at 8 o'clock you line up at the med window. So 2 times a day you go to the med window, about 10 o'clock a.m. and about 8 o'clock p.m. And so they can get you all drugged up and all that shit. So then they're checking your vitals and asking you questions, and every night and every morning you have to fill out this paper, and it says you're not going to try to kill yourself or anything like that. So all that's going on. Big part's a snack. You might get some Fig Newtons or something, right? So that's going on. They don't tell you what the schedule is. They just, why aren't you here? Well, I didn't know I was supposed to be there. So then they tell me I couldn't go to med window yet. I hadn't seen a doctor or anything. So they asked me if I needed anything. I think they did give me something to sleep, and so I go in and they give me a room in my like scrubs you wear, and I go in there, and it's a room to myself at this point. There's nobody else in there. There are two people to a room. In my unit, there's 22. There's 22 people. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So I go in. I get in my room. I'm laying down, and I'm thinking. I'm like, man, all this a lot happened to me in the last 48 or last week. I'd been asleep for so long because of that. Trying to take my life and being unconscious. And I was still in a fog from that, too. I had brain damage. I got brain damage from that. So, I'm in there thinking, and then I'm like, why? I don't need to be here, So I get up, and I go down to the little desk down there where they hang out, and the nurses and the techs and, guards if they have them or whatever. So I go down there, and I say, I want to talk to the head nurse, the one that checked me in. And so she goes, yes. And she was like real by the book, like every sentence she said came like off of this punch list, right? So she says, what do you want? I said, I want to go home. I said, check me out of here. And she said, no, we can't do that. Well, one other nurse, he's court ordered, and I said, what? Yeah, I said, this is like prison. She's like, you can't get out, It's until we figure out what's wrong with you, you'll be safe and not a danger to yourself or other people. So I'm like, what the hell? So I gave him a few more pieces of my mind. I went back down in the bedroom. By now that med's kicking in, right? So, I'd start dazing off, come back to, sometime during the night, I got a new roommate. Another dude tried to kill himself. And so he's a great big guy. He comes in there, he's sleeping away. And when I wake up, I go 3:34. And then, I get up in the morning, hear people rustling around. I'm excited because I want to see a damn doctor. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I still think I'm getting out of here that day, right? So I go out there and see people maneuvering around. Nobody's told me jack what's going on. So I sit around, they come up, they're like, Thomas? I'm like, yeah, it's me. Well, we need to take your vitals. I said, okay. So they take it. My blood pressure's high. It always usually is. It was real high. I just was, on the other side from carbon monoxide poisoning. So, I see people, like getting changed. I don't know what's going on. And then they start saying, well, we're going to line up for chow here at 30 minutes or whatever. It's like 7 o'clock. Let's go about 8 o'clock. So I don't take a shower or nothing. I don't know what the hell to do, you know. So we go to chow. And, you know, the food wasn't that bad, you know. They have a third party in there making it. And I didn't feel like eating, you know, at all. So go through the line, I get some fruit or something, and then I go back and the rest of the room. I'm like, I want to see a damn doctor. You know, I keep saying I want to. Well, the more you say that, the more they don't get you one, right? So eventually, it was like the next day, and I did find out, you know, if you want to take a shower and brush your teeth and all that stuff, you have to go to this desk and you have to tell them that. And it's from like 6:30 to 7. I think it was 6:30, 7:30, 6:37. And they give you, you know, your toothbrush. And they give everything to you because you can't hold on to it because you might hurt somebody or hurt yourself. So I go brush my teeth, do all that crap, go back, give them my stuff, and so go through that day. And then they finally, like at 3 o'clock on the second day I'm in there, in this nut house, they say the doctor wants to see me. I forget what it was a girl, like Nigerian girl or something. So I go in there and I sit down. I'm trying to like be real happy and all that, you know. I'm gonna try to swindle out of it. I go, hey, how you doing, doc? She's like, oh, very, very well, you know, Mr. Thomas. I said, yeah. She says. So she goes through her punch list of questions and she's going through the thing. And she just stares at me, you know. She looks me up and down, and I'm, you know, I try to crack a joke, and she kind of smiles a little bit, and then I said another joke, and she said something about somehow we got on and I hate politics again, you know, but somehow or another we're on them, and she said something about Trump or whatever, you know. I don't really care about all that crap. So anyway. I think she brought it up, and it's kind of unprofessional, but anyway, she kind of joked around a little bit, and I'm like, man, I think, you know, it's going to be in my favor. So she's like, okay, that's it. And I said, well, am I getting out of it? She goes, oh, we're going to have a meeting. We have meetings on these days, and the board and the nurses all get together, and they talk about you. And I'm like, when am I going to hear something? You'll hear something tomorrow. So in the meantime, I find out, hey, man, no, you're going to be in here for at least 6-7 days. I said, I can't, man. I got stuff going on at work. I got a audit I got to do. I didn't even know I'm gone. I mean, I've been gone now for like over a week, and you know, so I'm not so much worried about losing my job. I mean, I'm okay with that, with money and all. But I'm going to screw this company over by not being there for my duties. So I'm getting angry, and I started giving them hell, and that's fine. They just put it all. He's great, you know. And then just like everybody else, and I started watching everybody. You know, everybody else does the same shit, right? So I'm trying to figure this thing out. So I start calling for my attorney and all that crap. Get me out of here. And so being a business owner for a number of years in Sulphur Springs, you get to know everybody, you know, judges and sheriffs and all that. So I got, you know, a quick hearing, and so I think I was in there, still ended up in there, you know, a good while, over a week before they were forced to give me a hearing. So when I go in there, I'm getting ready to go in there, and they say, good luck, you know, the nurses and stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't need it. They say, oh, yeah, you do, because nobody's ever got out of here. And I said, watch this. So I go in there, and it's a Zoom call, you know, and I got the judge from Sulphur Springs, my town where I live, and the district attorney and my attorney. And so we get to talking. The judge knows who I am and everything. And he says, Thomas, man, what happened, you know, I just don't get it, you know. And I said, I don't, me neither, sir, you know. That's why I want to get out of here and try to figure out what went wrong, you know. And so he's like, yeah, all right. So this is what he said to me. He said, Thomas, I'm going to let you out of here if the DA agrees, and your attorney, of course. I'm going to let you out because you're important to this town, and tell me all this. And I said, okay, yes, sir. And he said, but if anything happens to you, he's like, I'll never forgive myself. And that probably saved my life. I'll tell you about that. So I said, yes, sir. And I feel great now, So he's like, let him out. I want him out in 45 minutes. So I'm like, all right. I get out and I go in, and all the nurses and stuff are like getting ready to laugh, and their lawyer says, oh, he's gone. And the one social worker goes, what? Yeah, they're letting him out. He's like, he can't go out. He is sick, And I said, I'm gone, dude. And they're like, wait, there's nothing we can do. And they were fighting to keep me in there. And they said, look, man, the judge. So they said, oh, you'll be back. You'll be dead, or you'll be back within a week. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I got my stuff together and called somebody to come get me. And they tell you all the rules. You have to have somebody there, and this whole thing. So I get out and I go home, and now I'm back to an empty house. So I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you this. So while I was in there, they diagnosed me with, and I didn't even know this till they let me out, because then they let me out, they have to give you all this paperwork. So and I'm looking at my paperwork when I get home, and it's MDD, major depressive disorder, as a chronic illness, disability rated, and survivor's guilt, PTSD, and which is all kind of under major depressive disorder, I think, and but with psychotic features. So I'm seeing things and all this, right? And delusional. So I'm like, get out of town, I ain't like that. So I'm in this empty house. And, my good friend, the one that found me, he would come over at night though and play darts or something with me and make sure I got to bed. And then I started. All of a sudden, man, I felt like this horrible feeling. Like I can't explain. And people always ask what it feels like, and it's man, it's the most empty you could ever feel. Okay. And not even your soul's in there, but you're watching your soul being eaten and tore apart, and it's when you're going through the depression part, and it's the same for the other mental illness folks. When I was in with the one bipolar, and all. When you go through these episodes or whatever they are, it's horrible. I mean, it's so horrible that when at night, if I felt good, I didn't want to go to sleep because I was afraid I would wake up in that other state of mind, and it's just it's so bad. It's like you're not worth anything. It's just terrible. I can't. It's hard to explain. I mean, and so and I start feeling this thing come on, and this is the first time I really felt it. Besides the time I felt I tried to kill myself, but I don't remember that. So I'm like, what is it? So I start taking my pills and stuff, and I take too many. Okay, I think it was an accident because I was trying to stop that feeling, and I end up, at the hospital being questioned and all this. And I tried assuring them, So they said, all right, but they were going to give the judge and all that, and they were going to talk to the hospital. And so I'm like, all right. So I'm trying to get through this week. I actually go back to work, and it was hard. It was hard as hell. I mean, to took me like 3 drives there before I actually could walk in the building. Now, I'm a you know, upper level manager at a big international chemical company, and you know, I knew it's all the employees on the floor and pointing at me. My fellow managers, you know, they probably thought, man, this guy ain't worth shit, you know. So, you know, and now I'm also going to one of these episodes. I drive there, I sit in the parking lot, fucking crying or whatever, and then just drive back home. And finally, I get in there, and like the 3rd or 4th day, I'm sitting in my office, you know, thinking, man, this just don't feel right. And a couple of my friends, good friends there, come in, and you know, I'm crying, and you know, I'm trying to. It's just I'm all over the place at this point. And if I had a gun at that point, I would have shot myself without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, driving home, I remember thinking about just swerving in front of a truck or something like that. Well, I keep thinking about the judge. I said, you know, I promise you, and I didn't want to ruin his life. So my boss comes in and talks to me a little bit, like on the 2nd day, and you know, I thought everything was going to be okay. I go home, and that night he calls me and tells me that HR said I'm not allowed back until I get, you know, this note from the hospital and all that I'm well enough to go back to work. Well, I knew the hospital wasn't going to give it to me because they didn't want me out in the first place. And I'm going through this really hard time right now with, you know, that episode of depression and delusions and all that. Now, you know, you're probably interested in the delusion part, right? So, I mean, that's the fun part. So delusions, or psychosis, you know, a lot of people think, when you say, if they hear you're psychotic or whatever, they think, well, man, he's going to run around with a knife. And I don't think that's true. I mean, at least I wasn't. But I do see things. And the one thing, like, when I woke up in the hospital, you know, in the medical hospital after a couple days after I tried to take my own life, the first thing I saw was these, like, floating, they look like balloons with a red cloak on them, but they end up being like these faceless red cloaked figures, right? And they're just floating up by the ceiling. I'm like, what the? That was before they came in and found out I woke up. And I'm glad I didn't say nothing, because the one girl was rude to me real quick. The one nurse asked me, "Did you try to kill yourself?" You know, I'm like, but I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, what in the world is this? So, when the nurse went out, I tried to say, hey, you know, what are you guys doing? Or what is this? Is this a camera trick thing or game show? You know, they just hang there. They're still, so to this day, a year later, all 3 are still with me. If I go walk out of this room, they come right behind me. Wherever I go, they are. When I go in my car, they're in the car. And it's weird because when I told AI about it, they haven't generated an image, they generated exactly what they are. And they even put them in my car. So, you know, that's one of the delusions. The other thing is, I see all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, I even take pictures of it, and I still see it in the pictures. I mean, I can see. It's not all these scary stuff. It's just I see people that ain't there. I see faces. I see animals, vegetation. I mean, I just see all clothes. I just see stuff, man. And sometimes it's moving, and I can't think straight because of part of the brain damage, part of the medicine. So anyway, that's the delusion part. Is sometimes I guess it's kind of fun. I don't know. The depression side, it sucks. that's what I was talking about. So you have to come up with coping mechanisms. I mean, or you would. I mean, nobody can live through that episode. It's just so painful. So my coping mechanism was digging holes. I go out there and, man, I start feeling bad. And I'll dig 8-foot hole in no time with a shovel. And that's cool because I like rocks and gems and stuff like that. So, and usually it tires me out real quick, and then I come in and lay down. And, I've learned to meditate and stuff, which I didn't know really worked. It does, but so anyway, I'm at home and work, and I can't go back to work now because I need a doctor's note. And I'm realizing that there's something to this illness that they say I got, right? And I'm doing research on it myself, what they had written on my file they gave me. And he's got this total chaos in my mind at this point. Like, again, I'm at home alone. My wife left me. It sucked. So, in the meantime, my buddy, the one that found me, he goes ahead and comes and moves in because I'm not allowed to be here alone, and especially after that taking too many pills. And so me and him, we played darts at night and stuff, and he'd make sure that I got up have that doctor's appointment when I was going to work. And so because of that pill thing, they said they wanted me back in the hospital. And I told them I would check in, and I didn't. So it was on a Sunday, like 10 days after whenever the pill thing happened, and I knew I had to go back. I was like looking for a gun to shoot myself. They had gotten rid of all my grills. So I go ahead and tell Big E, I said, hey, mind running me back to that hospital? He's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I said, okay, I'm going to get my stuff. I'm not let you take anything, but I'm going to go get cleaned up. So I did. And while I'm doing that, I hear this police sirens, right? Well, that's what the sheriff's department does. If they come here for anything, my driveway is pretty far down from the house. So instead of walking up or whatever, so they don't invade privacy, they'll do that, and I walk down there. So I heard that. I'm like, oh man. So I go down there, there's 2 deputies here, and I know them. And one of them I didn't know, but he had been there the day he was on the call to come get me when I tried to take my life. And the other one was a guy I know. His dad, and so they're there, and when I'm walking out, they said, Thomas, and I said, yes sir, and they said, aren't you supposed to be somewhere? And I said, I'm on my way. And they said, are you really? And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, you got any weapons on you? So I said, look man, you can frisk me. And they're like, no, how are you getting there? And I said, Big E's taking me. And they said, where's he at? And I said, well, he's coming out. So he came out, and they said, hey, can we talk to you? And you're taking him to the Big E. Said, they know he's a square guy, he's not going to lie. So then they're like, man, we're proud of you, man, you're going in on your own. And I said, well, thank you. And I think I'm crying at this point, and never cried in my life. And I cried more in a month than ever with anybody. I didn't even know what that was. So they, kind of make sure the deputies make sure we get off to this psychiatric hospital. And then I check back in, and I go in there like we told you, man. So then but the same thing starts, man, where I'm not really getting any help. They just take me in there, they look me up and down, ask me questions, and that's it, I start getting upset, man, because I checked myself in this time now, and they're not going to let me out. I figured they would, but no, because, I'm a danger and all that. And they added some more things to my trophy there of all the things I have, anxiety now. Well, anyway, the first time I got in a fight in there, the second time I got in a fight, and I was just like, about had it. So I go in there, And I jump on this one doctor and I say, I ain't doing nothing anymore. And you don't help me. Just sitting there and freeze to death. And I stormed out of there. And this is, another couple weeks into this thing. And the next day, this nurse comes in and goes, "Hey, Thomas, I got your discharge packet here." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, Dr. Sai said you can check out." I'm like, "Really?" "Yeah." I'm like, "But I have to go in this thing called partial hospitalization program." And it's almost just like being in there because you're there all day. You just go home and sleep, right? But they're therapy sessions, so I was pretty interested to get into that. So they let me out, and Biggie come and got me, and came back home. Next morning, I go in there to this thing, and man, I tell you, that was a great program. Right away, I saw that there was some real value to it. I learned a lot about myself, about the sickness, and you sitting there, it's a group thing with a bunch of other people, most of them kids. It's sad. I say kids, I mean 19, 20, 21, 22. And round table discussions. And I really liked it. I was in there for, a month or two, and I need to get back to work, man. I'm going broke, right? So one day I just didn't go back, and I feel bad about that, and I know I'm still sick. And they called, and they sent the cops here, and I said, "Man, I got to go to work." And they said, "You're so sick, you got the worst case of major depressive disorder we've ever seen, and I said, "I know, but I got to work, man," And so I started going back. I forged some documents here and there, but I had to do what I had to do, and it's probably part of the sickness too. But anyway, I got back to work. I got the doctor's thing because they did release me from the hospital, and at that time they gave me a doctor's thing. So now it's back to work. Now I'm facing the music. It's been a couple months, 3 months or whatever, and everybody just thinks I'm wacko, which I probably am. I got all kinds of, I had to change phones so many times because I would get calls and texts from, I don't know, telling me from who, but telling me why I was going to hell, and I committed the ultimate sin and all that, and they to put signs in my yard or whatever. And but anyway, I get back to work, but I still have these delusions, and I'm still seeing things, right? It's getting close to the holidays too, around that time, and I get those. I was telling you about those episodes where you just you just hate it. You just hate it. It's so terrible. But I kind of start living a little bit of a normal life, I'm trying to, live without my wife for the first time, and since I was 18, but I got a lot of support from the community and from my friends, which was lucky. But every single day was a challenge. I'd go out there at midnight and start digging a hole, and like I was saying, I got brain damage from that damn carbon monoxide thing. I'm not what I once was. I was thinking I'd still do okay at work and everything, but it definitely compounded the problems. I would say that. Trying to take my own life. I didn't have those red floating things. I didn't have them before I did it. They're still here. Once in a while they move around. It's weird. And what other thing is weird? Our dog sees them. because he'll bark at him in the corner over and over. And then one day when one moved, it dropped down to the floor. Her name's Missy, the dog. She went over. And then the dog is somebody's that stays here. We have we let people board here and stuff. They need a place to stay, and we got a couple people staying here. And anyway, her dog would go crazy, and it still does. And I told her, I think it's the easiest things I do. So I wonder how that's delusional if, the dog. But anyway, I'm, trying to get through day by day, night by night, and I go to work, but it just, everything sucks because it's like, when it's getting time to get off work, I'm like, what am I going to do, I'm not working for anything anymore, and, I'm going to go home and be alone, and it's getting worse, that part, but, I did my best to, be somewhat normal most of the months, and now, my first trip back to Kansas City, that factory, because remember I came back from there when this kicked this thing off, so that was rough. It was a rough night. And I was there and back because it was an audit, and it was rough. They did trigger some things, and luckily I had a friend with me, and she helped me out. And so I get back from there, and keep trying to move on. Well, in the meantime, I know the 1-year anniversary is creeping up on this thing, and that's just, I know something's going to happen. And, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm preparing for that. One doctor told me I hit the danger zone today, because it puts it 30 days out, that anniversary. So to, keep in contact with people. And I can feel those episodes pushing on me, wanting to start, and they're horrible. So we didn't get through a whole lot tonight, but I wanted to get through, some of this too, because I know a lot of you were kind of hanging on the cliff there. So thank you for participating in this, and because like I said, right after this is over, when you guys say it's good enough, I'm going to go ahead and start speaking. My thing on here is not to get, sympathy or anything like that. I'm not trying to eat that. What I want to do is get some data, get something, what makes this happen, what can scientists or doctors do to help people, because it's horrible. I'm telling you, it's horrible. Okay, I've had painful things like broken bones or gout or kidney stones, or that's, what, give me that all day long. But this feeling you get with this depressive disorder is horrible. But thank you. I put together a Facebook group that's going to be, since I'm on this 30-day deal, this 30-day journey, nobody knows how it's going to turn out. I could be dead. I could be locked up in the hospital. I could just be fine. So you can get on that Facebook, that group page, and I'm going to do videos every day and talk how I'm doing and what I'm feeling, and maybe that kind of stuff will help doctors or somebody kind of connect some dots or something. I don't know, but so I believe the name of that group on Facebook is MDD. My suicide journey through MDD or something like that. You can. I'll put it when I send this out to y'all. I'll put the web address on there, and you can go on there and look at that group if you want. But again, thank you, and thank you for the questions, and I think Everybody was professional except one, and it was just unfortunate. But hey, everybody have a good day, good night, whatever it is when you watch this. And I thank you again. And please, if you have questions, some people ask some questions and thought I'd be offended. I'm not going to be offended at all. I'm a very open person. I want everybody to know everything that's going on with me. If you're going to be my friend, you should know. And that's it. So ask questions. And, hey, thank you. Sorry we didn't get through a lot more. Like I said, today is getting closer to that one. So you guys might get some interesting stuff with this and with the Facebook group, but you never know. Thank you. Love y'all.